Man, who would have thought that all you gotta do to make your office kinda clean after about a year and a half of it being very much not clean was have a homie over for a week. Have a homie over I did. My boy from down under, biodegradable, in the flesh, was here. Shot the shit. Watched hella movies, brainstormed pulling ball comics. He even gave me a hand shooting some videos that should be out soon. Speaking of which, what you're watching right now is a digest for last year's 12 Days of CAPSMAS, the second one of which will be starting on December 21st. It'll start on the 21st. That means it'll go into January like a day, maybe a day and a half more so than last year, but that's what I gotta do. It's my series, so it's my rules. I don't think anyone's actually gonna care but me, but 21st. First one is on the 21st. But I do need to upload something. So much like my season 1 of Capsules and Pockets, this just shaves off those last 12 videos of last year's marathon and just puts them right here for you to view and accumulate watch hours. But to make it worth y'all's while, I'm gonna include some little bonus nothings every couple of episodes. So until that big old stuff starts coming out, I hope you guys are having a grand old time getting ready for Crimbus, getting ready for Nog, hunting down those tiny Cokes that they release seasonally. I've had no problem finding the Sprite and Diet Coke, but for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, it makes sense because it's like the one that everyone wants. Tiny bottles of Coke with Santa's face on it, pretty scarce right now. Meanwhile, there's absolutely no shortage of those Coke Zero mini cans with his face on it. At least the art looks good. CAPSMAS starts now. It's unfortunate that the discourse around this one has been mangled into a three-way battle of this is a Christmas movie, this isn't a Christmas movie, and whether or not this is a Christmas movie is some terminal film bro virgin shit that we should all make fun of, because a way more productive conversation is whether or not it still holds up. On one hand, yeah, it's the late 80s and you get a glimpse into the mind of America itself in the late 80s by watching it. You can find plenty of essays on that on your own damn time. Because I'm just here to say, yeah, it's still that f***ing good. The production is top-notch, every major performance has charisma and spades, the set pieces are a masterclass in action choreography and movie editing, and the protagonist is one of the most iconic and well-realized of his time.
This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
Never in a million years could anyone have guessed that a sequel to a book whose movie version starred Frank Sinatra would be adapted into one of the most influential action movies ever made. And it is a Christmas movie.
Got invited to the Christmas party by mistake. Who knew?
Underground pop might sound like an oxymoron, but it's actually the most apt way to describe some of my favorite music. A prime example can be found in the work of British songwriter, poet, gardener Martin Newell, whose songs mesh tasty pop melodies with a grimy, working-class perspective. While his work has racked up enthusiastic praise over the decades, especially that filed under his band Cleaners from Venus, you can credit his initial rise in relevance to his 1993 solo debut, The Greatest Living Englishman. A combination of re-recorded Cleaners tracks and fresh material, the album was produced by XTC bandmate Andy Partridge, and was largely tracked in his shed using then-new digital equipment. The end product, though comparatively lo-fi, is a cohesive and enjoyable listen front to back. And as a bonus, it includes one of my favorite Christmas songs that maybe 20 people have ever heard, Christmas in Suburbia. The album's a great introduction to an underrated talent who will undoubtedly be covered again on this channel. Go give it a listen. Before playing Pierce Hawthorne on Community and making it unclear where actors stopped and characters started, Chevy Chase was the face of the middle-class American dad who masks his ever-expanding anger and anxiety with the demeanor of a man who really needs that promotion.
I gotta be crazy. I'm on a pilgrimage to see a moose.
Christmas Vacation was the first in National Lampoon's Griswold series I ever saw, and like many comedies I saw in my youth, I was probably a little too young for it at the time, filled with as many jokes that I found funny as it was ones I'd only get with age. One thing I knew right away though, side eyes are cool, a fact I'm reminded of every time I hear that one Hawaiian Christmas song. Jokes aside, the movie holds up very well in my opinion, juggling sharper riffs with slapstick and sentimentality that I really miss from that decade, and I find it every bit as cozy as talking planets, grown men in tights, and air rifles for kids. So turn on a fake fire, open up a gross-ass box of eggnog, and give it a rewatch if you haven't already.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Kiss my ass. Kiss his ass. Kiss your ass. Happy Hanukkah.
He's a real nowhere man.
I edited this into the middle so that the copyright thing won't pick up the Beatles song. Sitting in his nowhere land. Get fucked. For many, Christmas is a time of comfort, and nothing's more comfortable than a reliable trip down memory lane. Rankin Bass and Charlie Brown are the true low-budget OGs of the art form, but in the decades since, the amount of qualifying TV has stacked higher and higher. Pretty much any show that lasted long enough on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network were given a full half-hour holiday special. And hell, on top of having yearly seasonal episodes, the very first episode of The Simpsons was a holiday story.
And what would you like, little boy? You're not really Santa, Tubby. Why, you little... No, Homer.
But hop to the internet age and you've got a similar trend that's just as cozy and comforting, for me at least. I already talked about destroying Little Panda Fighter from IHE, my fondness for AVGN and Quentin Reviews is obvious to anyone with eyes, but in the end, I think the crown for my favorites in this alternative space goes to Homestar Runner.
What?
Their non-denominational Decemberween specials put a sassy spin on the TV schmaltz of yesteryear, in that one-of-a-kind style from the Brothers Chaps.
What? The Deep Impact DVD? You got me just for like the last 3 years, man!
On my recent trip to Serbia, I watched 3 movies back-to-back on the plane, all for the first time. I started with Judas and the Black Messiah, which was a bit of a mistake on my part, and I ended with Wedding Singer, good palate cleanser, still wanted to break stuff. Between those two was Funny Pages, one of the nicest surprises that I've had in a while, in that it starts out quite nice itself before... Now, I'm not going to spell out exactly what happens beyond the gist. A suburban teen obsessed with art and comics drops out of school to pursue the romantic bohemian dream of being a self-made artist. On paper, tone, casting, and style, it's the kind of movie I would have watched in my teens and gone, oh, hell yeah, dude, he just like me, for real. Except by the end of the damn thing, it's the kind of movie I wish I had seen at that age, so I was ready for what was actually ahead of me. Complete with economic anxiety, narcissism, and every flavor of neurodivergence under the sun. Also takes place at Christmas time. When? I'll leave it at that. If you're looking for something different, this should do it. Just go in with one in the bag. You're gonna need it.
Yeah, but he failed with soul.
It's safe to say that there's no shortage of holiday music, which can be summed up as 24 trad pop standards and a few dozen covers of each one. For my fellow garage rock addicts, though, it can be tricky to find stuff that doesn't just sound like it rolled out of Hot Topic's Nightmare Before Christmas aisle. Enter this obscure 60s long play collab by proto-punk outfit The Sonics, The Wailers, and The Galaxies. Answers to the British invasion of the 60s, they dish up an open-fire energy that's lacking this time of year. Of course, for those who want something fresher, I also recommend 2 Christmas EPs by Dr. Dog, a group who's reverent to this strain of American rock while infusing it with their own modern indie sensibilities. I've actually put these tracks and many more into a playlist called A Chillosaurus Christmas on Spotify. If you want something that you can put on shuffle that'll scratch every itch you might have as a Christmas enjoyer while not being as samey as some fogey radio station, consider this my gift to you.
I hope you enjoy them and I hope that you have a peaceful holiday.
You know, if I were just a smidge more motivated, I would edit this to make it look like a zombie movie. You know, like Pride and Prejudice and zombies. Well, yeah. It's a Wonderful Life. And zombies. But I'm tired and sad. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm just planting seeds. Little Jimmy Stewart seeds. As I like to cover pretty often on this channel, we live in the world of the one-man show, an age where dreamers with MacBooks are able to make hit singles or entire albums from the comfort of their bedroom. That said, disciples of this modern practice would still do well to study their ancestors' efforts in multi-track musicianship. One of my favorites in this category is none other than Electric Light Orchestra founder Roy Wood, whose solo debut Boulders turned 50 this past year. Even though it was recorded at major studios with a couple extra hands at the board, a majority of the production and playing was done by Wood himself. The result is a genre-hopping tribute to every flavor of music that he's ever appreciated, from old-school rock and roll and country to contemporary folk and psychedelia of the time. Even within these pastiches, it's packed with a unique character, made possible by crafty studio effects and obscure instruments that Roy picked up at secondhand shops. Pull it up where you can and enjoy a cult classic from a godfather of orchestral pop rock. Roy's your boy. Smash Brothers, Boomer Pop, Esoterica, I live for this shit. In 1993, I was born. Woof. No. Meanwhile, in Dayton, Ohio, a gladiator-turned-wizard conjured white-hot discs of pure energy using ramshackle tools. Alchemic statements in a decade-long struggle to reclaim his own destiny. One such totem told the naysayers where they could shove it with the might of champions past.
And no one
before cascading into a noisy vortex of discombobulation and sending off those who listened with a final bombardment of mockery, as to say, yes, this is all quite silly, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Bruised and fatigued, synapses fried, your senses shocked into their absolute maximum, do you run from this burst of madness or turn to the mystic sorcerer himself and say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" Business is good for human amusements at hourly rates.
What the f*** are you talking about, man?
Fret not, my little pretties, I'm nowhere near close to done with these cats. All in due time. I know we live in an age where you're more likely to hear some schmuck whose career peaked when he co-starred in Joe Dirt sing a song about listening to Sweet Home Alabama, itself a reaction to Neil Young criticizing the culture and ignorance of southern states that's ultimately been repurposed into an incessant anthem. But allow me to scrub all this cancerous nonsense off for a far more pressing matter, the matter of Leonard Skinner being f***ing awesome. They crystallized the sound of harder American country rock, embraced the outlaw life more authentically than most who came after them, and most importantly, made some incredible music. Their self-titled album is a stone-cold classic of '73, balancing tender balladry and rocking jams with stellar musicianship. For me, Simple Man is the ultimate ode to being a humble and reasonable fellow that Mom would be proud of. And Freebird is Freebird. Yeah, I know. Play Freebird! A parody of a joke, but under that grime is a song that's irrefutably one of the greatest of all time. Hi, I'm Lanooski, and if you don't like Freebird, then f*** you. Happy 50th.
Here's a little something that I came up with earlier this year. It started as an instrumental, and then I added some beat lyrics. My boy Mr. Dubs added some bass and synthesizers on top. It sounds pretty good. Wow, imagine making a kick-ass song only to add lyrics that don't make any sense. Who does that? Anyway, here's a Guided by Voices review.
If the Grand Hour was a twisted State of the Union, the arrival of an immortal vampire on Titus before he wished he was a giant, here's instead a spell cast by way of drunken Beatles tapes. A burst of manic schoolyard electricity whose spark yields a static airplane jive. Pulitzer, please. You're still getting nothing out of me. No details for you about who or why or when. That's chump sh**. Well, alright, fine, maybe a little who. There's a little who, right next to the little who. And the little who. Anyway, this is a great listen that goes by like that. Only problem, it's a little hard to come by outside of the odd YouTube upload or expensive eBay listing, which is why I've taken the liberty of sequencing a Spotify playlist off of last year's release Scalping the Guru, which combined these catchy bops with those of 3 sister releases. Of course, if you've got half an hour to kill, by all means, just play that. But if you've got a little under 11, this will give you more than enough zest for the day. A jump start, if you will, that I will gladly watch. Getting ahead of myself. Play it loud, damn it. A few years back, I briefly reviewed the Stones' acclaimed 1971 album Sticky Fingers. Earlier this year, I was gifted a treasure trove of secondhand vinyls from friend of the channel and visual artist Ollie Wobbles. Go check out his Etsy, by the way. His specialty is psychedelic pet portraits. Anyway, though, among a dozen or so absolute gems in these boxes was none other than...
It's a video, so you can do whatever you want.
I've always wondered whose pants these are. I hope, Keith, I know it's me.
Upon further research, the identity of the gentleman who posed for this Warhol-produced cover remains a mystery. In any case, though, between the strikingly framed crotch shot and functional zipper, it's cool to finally have an iconic piece of rock history on top of owning a superb Rolling Stones record. Now for the moment of truth, I doubt there's anything too seedy under here, given that it was released for public Ollie, I swear to God, if this was you. Vampire on Titus was a record made between 2 masterpieces of 90s indie rock. Yeah, I'm dropping the bit for this one. And for a group so often associated with DIY production and weirder sound effects, this album leans a bit harder into both of those facets of this band. Still, if you stick with it, maybe give it a few listens, there's a genuine timelessness on display. One that makes me such a die-hard fan of this body of work. The lyrical stream of consciousness that evokes life in the Midwest as much as it does psychedelic folklore, the tin can acoustics of the basements the songs were tracked in, the synergy of the band's many influences from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it all just feels good. And knowing the year that it came out was also the year that I came out of what? I'll tell you when you're older. Makes my brain etch this hissy 4-track tape into the home movies in my head. Times long gone. Friends whose paths have diverted away from mine. Of dreams that I carry with me to the very moment I'm recording this. Give it a chance, even if it's a little jarring at first. There's magic to be found here. By the way, I'm sick. Thank God I'm done.
That's some silly bastard.
Ah.
Barry Krampus.
You want some? I didn't think you would. That shit was a shit post that I sent to a friend of mine like 2 Christmases ago. And that sped up song is the only good song off the Bob Dylan Christmas album he did years and years ago. It's a polka song, but I can't play that shit. Anyway, here's some pants with reindeer and stuff on it, and barn dirt that I couldn't see because it's red in here. Thank you for watching that CAPSMAS recap. Do you have anything to add, Jaybird?
Merry Crimbus.
Yeah?
That's it. That's all I got.
I wasn't sure if you were queuing up the rest of the sentence.
Nope.
You just spoke with a question mark.
Always.
God bless us, every...
Well, that was good.
Yeah, it was. This is the meta part where stuff is still said while the annotations pop up.
I'm gonna get a free foot shop.
I gotta pixelate it. Those are the money makers.
My money maker.
You're gonna compromise our whole operation with that shit.